Good morning. This is the National Weather Service in La Crosse with a severe weather briefing update at 10:30 a.m. on June 30th, 2014. For today, we are focusing on severe weather possibilities for northeast Iowa and southwest Wisconsin. This would be through the afternoon and early evening hours. Primary threats look to be damaging winds and flash flooding, as well as some large hail and tornadoes. Confidence in this scenario is medium to high for southeast Minnesota and western Wisconsin. The timing is through 7 p.m. as well, with the main threats being damaging winds, large hail, and flash flooding. The environment is not as favorable across southeast Minnesota into western Wisconsin, so the confidence in seeing a larger severe weather event is a little bit lower. Here's a look at the current radar. Storms are already firing up in western Iowa and eastern Nebraska, and it's these storms that we will be focusing on as they track across Iowa and potentially into southern Wisconsin. A little bit closer to the area, and these storms have been severe. There have been reports of damaging winds, large hail, and as well as some tornado warnings associated with these storms. It is these storms, as they continue to move east, they could congeal and form a large line of storms with damaging winds and possibly tornadoes. The threat area for today that we're focusing on is mainly in Iowa, central Iowa through eastern part of the state, and if these storms continue to track east, it could move into southern and southwest Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Across southeast Minnesota into western Wisconsin, there still is a threat that storms could develop ahead of a boundary, but the primary threat or the greatest severe risk would be across Iowa into southern Wisconsin. So here is the tornado probabilities issued by the Storm Prediction Center, and the greatest tornado threat would be across southern and central Iowa, but there is with these storms a possibility that some of them could be tornadic as far east as southwest Wisconsin. The greater threat if these storms continue to form and potentially form a large line would be widespread damaging winds, and that's focused mainly on eastern Iowa all the way into southern Wisconsin and much of Illinois. This is where the primary threat for damaging winds would be. And of course there could be very large hail with these storms, and that would cover most of Iowa into southern Wisconsin as well. So here is one look at what the radar potentially could look like later on today. Storms that are already going into western Iowa and eastern Nebraska could continue to track east, such that by noon they would be into central Iowa, potentially forming a line. We step forward to 3 p.m. You see this one solution here shows a very vigorous line of convection extending from northeast Iowa down through Waterloo to near Des Moines. It is with these storms that could be the leading edge of a damaging wind event, and could be some tornadoes on the leading edge as well. Stepping through to 5 p.m., the line could continue to track into southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, and moving across the area, this shows that the greater threat would be in northeast Iowa into southern Wisconsin. The other threat with these storms is the heavy rainfall potential. Recent rains the last couple weeks have kept the soil moisture pretty high. The rivers are swollen, and we're looking at 1 to 3 inches as possible across much of Iowa into southern Wisconsin. There could be locally higher amounts. So with this amount of rain, this would push many rivers into flood if it does come to fruition. Some rivers that are already experiencing some flooding issues: the Turkey River, including the Volga and Crane Creek, the Upper Iowa and its tributaries, as well as the Cedar and Shell Rock rivers. So there is a flash flood watch through tonight across much of northeast Iowa into southwest Wisconsin. So to recap, expecting a line of storms to move through, primarily affecting central and eastern Iowa into northeast Iowa and southern Wisconsin. through 7 p.m. this evening, the primary threats would be damaging winds, tornadoes, flash flooding, and some large hail. Further north along the I-90 corridor in southeast Minnesota and western Wisconsin, the threat is a little bit less, but if storms do become strong to severe, they would be capable of producing damaging winds, large hail, and flash flooding. As always, you can get the latest on this severe weather event through our Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter and check out our YouTube page.